himself more, and he felt like he could express himself more. So in a way, the show is a little bit of therapy in going into that issue for us. And so now at least we have like open lines of communication. I can express when something doesn't feel right to me. He certainly did around that date. Like the date felt wrong to him. And, I understand that because there's physical intimacy, there's emotional intimacy. And where do you draw the line in an open relationship? That's, I think, where the conversation comes in.
And you guys are what? Still you're still not sure you're comfortable with it? Like you guys are still in the throes of it.
Well, now we're like starting to plan a wedding. I mean, my life is still a little bit up in the air, like nothing. I don't have like another full-time job. I'm working on a few side things. Julia and I are working on a few projects, but, I'm still very much in this kind of middle ground place with what I'm going to do, where I'm going to be. And so add on top of that a little insecurity around the open relationship. Still, for me, I'm not ready to like set a date and make a plan yet. So we're still like, we're still engaged and, still like loving this moment in our life, but I don't feel any kind of pressure to rush to an altar when we still have, some things to solve and get through.
Were you shocked at this engagement? I mean, like you were going to your, where you guys met and like, I mean, it seems like, okay, this is the obvious place to do it, but were you shocked?
I mean, we've definitely talked about, I made a joke in an interview once where we were like, oh, when you're 35 and I'm 35 and we're both still single, but we want children and we want like the white picket fence, like we'll just throw in together. And, that had been a conversation that we've had in the past. And we definitely talked about what would a life together look like. So it wasn't fully out of left field, but I didn't feel like it was coming that day for sure. And I certainly didn't think he had already gone through the process of finding a ring and like doing all of that. That to me was pretty surprising.
Do you guys is your goal to work out this open relationship issue and just have it one way or another closed, so to speak, or like this issue closed before you actually walk down the aisle?
I don't think it'll ever be close. I mean, I think that's the thing with this, with this conversation. I've had so many, as I've been out over the last few weeks, so many gay men come up and like, oh yeah, this is really a topic. And just like you see with the couple who we had at our Connecticut house, they were on, slightly different pages of their open relationship. And the advice they gave to us is it's always a conversation. So I don't think one day he's going to change and one day I'm going to change. I think we're going to both have to always be finding that balance in what is appropriate for the moment we're in at that moment. I mean, if we've got like 5 children running around and he's off, that's, but also he needs to be happy. I need to be happy. So I think it's just about the continual conversation and finding the right balance.
Do you know like what type of wedding you want to have? I mean, do you want to have a big wedding? I mean, it sounds like you're not really far along in the process of planning it yet.
But I have an idea. I mean, I definitely don't want like some big New York wedding. I would love like some type of destination thing. What I love about destination is you can invite everyone, but only a few people come. It's like the best of all worlds. And then also, I just want a vacation. I don't want to plan something. I don't want to sit there like hemming and hawing over details about invitations and literal bullshit. I would rather just go to someplace fabulous, have a massage every day, end it with some fabulous feast, and then fly home, So I think a destination somewhere is going to be my want.
Is Julia bothering you? Is she like, let's get this on the roll? Like, is her vision board going already? And like, is she starting to steamroll this process?
No, she's not steamrolling the process, but she's definitely obviously involved in the whole thing. So she will be a meaningful part. She's on board with destination. Her wedding with Silvio was destination. It was a beautiful wedding in Greece. So I don't know if she would suggest we do the exact same thing, but I definitely think she's on board with some, we both like, we enjoy kind of our leisure. And so I think the idea of having to plan something and being like a year out worrying about every little detail is not exciting for either of us.
It's too early. Well, yeah. One person we saw that had some issues in voice them was Batsheva. Were you shocked that she kind of spoke up when you guys got engaged and just this whole open relationship? And talk to me about that.
Batsheva never shocks me because Batsheva always says exactly how she's feeling. I don't think at the time I didn't feel like it was particularly negative. I honestly enjoyed it because it was she was playing for my team. So at least one person was playing for my team. And I thought she articulated her perspective really well. So I think that moment with Batsheva in Connecticut was really an impetus for a stop and reflection point for Raed, because I think when you're a gay man in our community, you see it one way and you see it being successful in one way. But you see, obviously, there's multiple ways of living life. But then to have another perspective come at him from someplace he didn't expect, I think it was helpful, at least to, shift the mentality for him and think about, oh, maybe there are lots of people with other perspectives and I should consider that.
How has Batsheva changed just, personally since you've known her? I mean, as an audience, in 2 seasons, we've seen her go from like married
Wow.
to sing, right? Like,
Yes, all for the best. I mean, she is living her absolute best life. She is like at every party. She is a girl on the scene here in New York City. She looks incredible. I mean, I've never seen her look so fabulous in my entire life. I'm so happy for her. And she's just out there, living. So
we
to be young and beautiful.
we saw some of that. We saw her having her own DAs. We saw her on the apps. Like, what's going on with her now? Like, is she single? Anything you can tell us about her dating life now?
I think she's still playing the field. I mean, who knows? I shouldn't speak too much about it because any number of things could be happening. But I think she's still single. I think she's just living life. She's got a great group of girls around her who are her close friends. They seem to be a really close knit group, and I think she's just taking her time in the sunlight and enjoying the moment.
We saw her get a little bit of flack from Julia, like you said, the season was much different than we expected. We didn't expect like this major divorce between Julia and Silvio. And then, of course, like everyone kind of hauled up in the penthouse and, we saw Batsheva kind of come and go. Like, do you think Julia was justified in maybe feeling like Batsheva wasn't there as much as the rest of you were?
I think that there are two sides to it. I mean, Batsheva obviously was going through her own divorce and like trying to kind of establish her own narrative in her head and, amongst her group of friends and everything. So I think when you're in the middle of a very heated, tumultuous situation, you're never approaching it totally level-headed and, everything is supercharged. And that situation was the most supercharged of a situation I personally have ever been in. So, I mean, even Julie and I had a moment where we had to have a conversation about whether or not I was being supportive or not, or supportive enough. So I think, I just at this time, like having the 2020 of hindsight, I think it's just about giving grace to everyone and everyone's on their own journey. So I validate kind of the thoughts and feelings of both people, but I know Julia and Batsheva are closer than they've ever been now. So something happened, right?
Something happened, right? How was it when Julia accused you of this? Because you didn't seem to be so thrilled with it at the time, just kind of questioning your own loyalties or being there for her.
I think I was going through a difficult time as well. Like I had lost my job and probably, in her defense, I was really focused on myself as well. I mean, and I feel justified in that, but I do think, she is